It's like the dude behind the camera when it's like 3.
You're on.
You're on, man.
Ah,
And Merry Christmas, man.
almost, yeah. Merry Xmas or
Merry
Happy
Xmas,
Holidays.
Happy Holidays, Happy
Um,
Hanukkah, Happy
Happy Kwanzaa,
atheistic,
Festivus,
purposeless holiday. Happy commercialism.
commercialism. You know, I was thinking about this. It occurred to me the other day. I was in a church service. It was the first Sunday of Advent. I'm part of a denomination that's very traditional, so there's like keeping to the Advent calendar and stuff. And it's all about this expectation of the coming of the Christ child, right?
Right.
Okay. So then I'm sitting there thinking about this, and it occurred to me that basically all of the Christmas
Yes, you
stuff,
do.
yeah, but all the Christmas stuff that we're used to seeing, even the secular stuff, like you listen to the Christmas music, and like half of it's hymns, or third of it's hymns, third of it is like sort of generic winter holiday kind of thing.
Jingle bells, man.
I'll be home for Christmas and stuff.
Sleigh ride.
Yeah. But they all have this element of like the longing, the anticipation, right? For the kids, it's the anticipation of opening the presents or family coming to, together, or like the holiday season. There's anticipation. Christmas, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Right.
And I was thinking about this as like, without the coming of the Christ child, what exactly is it that is being anticipated? And
Well, in pagan times, it's the coming of the rising of the sun. Like
rising of the
you
sun,
hit
right?
the yeah
Right,
yeah
right, right. But I think that a lot of what people feel is they feel like that anticipation, right? That we're anticipating something. This is a holiday for we're anticipating it. It's coming. And it's like,
yeah.
what's coming? And it's like,
Santa.
no, I think the answer for a lot of people is nothing.
Well,
Which is
what's really coming is their Visa bill. So
right. Well, that's they say that the holiday season is a time where people are more depressed. Like there's higher depression rate than any other time, and I think it's like for
because
a
they
while
realize they're in the matrix at this point. They're like, this is all a racket. I am being
I'm being squeezed,
manipulated.
but it's like I've been told to anticipate something, and there's and what it like okay, the kids open their presents, and 10 minutes later they're bored of them, and I kind of don't like my family anyway, and now I don't know what's happening. It's like, let's
Right.
go back to work, I guess. Like
Get ready for that Visa bill.
yeah.
That's right.
So it's like, anticipation, it's a good thing, but not always just sort of undirected, generalized anticipation. And
But it's true, right? It's like what's that old adage about how that you get more pleasure actually out of looking forward to whatever the thing is, the vacation,
yeah,
the whatever,
yeah,
than the actual event itself. Like when the event happens, it's like, oh, that was it. It's like
I guess
I
so.
was I was in this seminar one time, and it was really illuminating. This is like maybe I think this is probably like 2012, so we're talking about like 13 years ago, but made such a deep impact on me. This guy he was talking about he was pretty animated speaker, so he's standing up on stage and he's like the one thing that we know about our situation in life, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're up to, the one thing that we know is that right here, right now, this is not it, right? This is not it. But what it is over there. I need to get that job. I need to get with that girl. I need to marry that person. I need to get that car. I need to, whatever it is. It's over there. And
It's
so
in
we
the
go,
future.
go, go. It's over there. And so we're going to go. And he would walk across the stage, and he would get there, and he would go, and now we're here. And now we know, oh man, this isn't it. What it really is over there.
It's over there.
And he was go back and forth across the stage, and wherever it is, this ain't it, And I'm like, man, that is really, I mean, because at the time too, like I was pretty deep in a rat race, and I'm like, man, that's really true. Like, what is the point of all this, and it's I think it takes I don't know whether it's an event or a reminder or whatever periodically, like for even the most self-aware person to be like, man, no, the only thing that is it is right here, right now. I mean, this is it. This is it, And it's a difficult thing to kind of keep present in your mind, you know?
I try to tell my students this. I start the semester off usually. We look through some Aristotle, and he has this interesting. Um, I guess it's like this guiding question for one of his books, which is like how to find like true fulfillment, true, um, like your life is like doing well, you're well, like it's going
Like
somewhere, you know,
not meaning necessarily, but just a feeling of
fulfillment.
fulfillment. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And he said that there's one option. He says, obviously, there's some things that won't bring fulfillment. And so one of the ones he mentions is money. It's not because he doesn't like money. He's like, go be rich. In fact, you probably need to be. But it's like you want the money for something else. You want to buy something with it. You want to have it so that you're prepared, so it feels like security. But it's not the money itself. It's you think, well, security is going to bring this, or the travel or the ability to give gifts to others. That's what'll do it, not the money. They said the other one that a lot of people get trapped in is the need of the moment. So it's like if you're poor, wealth is happiness. If you're sick, health is happiness, right? If you're lonely, companionship is happiness, and so on.
Just whatever
And
you're missing, that's what the happiness is.
right, it's like if you're
Yeah.
hungry, food is happiness, and it's like,
Right.
well, unfortunately, the needs of the moment is in the class of the unlimited. Like you will not run out of the needs of the moment, and as soon as you
Oh,
fulfill one, it's
there's
another
something
one.
else.
Well, so
Yeah, that's
another
right.
one will rush, and maybe five others will rush and take their place. And so it's like,
It's what is that the hierarchy of needs, right? Once I satisfy these, I still have all these, and these are even way bigger.
yeah, they're
These are
right.
even a bigger problem.
Usually it's presented like a pyramid like this, but it's
Right.
really an inverted one,
Right.
right? Because the stuff
Right.
at the top is so difficult to get, and there's so many of them. It's like, well, you'll never get all, all that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But it's like if you're not careful, you'll get caught in the, well, here's what do I need? Well, the need of the moment is what I need to start pursuing in order to be a fulfilled person. And it's like, oh, dude, that is a mistake. We've known that's a mistake for a long time, you
You
know.
know, you know what's funny about that? I was listening to this podcast the other day. I watched. There's a podcast on YouTube called Diary of a CFO. I don't know if you
Mhm.
ever or CEO, Diary of a CEO,
Yeah.
DOAC. I can't remember the guy's name,
Yeah,
but
you have some cool people on there sometimes.
yeah, he's excellent. You know, he had this guy on there who's a Texas guy. He's up in Dallas. His name's Chris Corner, like Koerner Corner.
Okay.
And this guy is just he's fascinating. I've been following him on a separate channel on his podcast for a while. And so when I saw him on Diary of a CFO, I'm like, oh dude,
Collab.
this is great. But one of the things about Chris Corner is he has this thing called the corner office, right? And but he's just he's a young dude. I want to say he's like in his 30s, married, got like 4 kids, lives outside Dallas, like Flower Mound or something like that.
Okay.
And he started in his life, in his late 30s. So he's younger than all three of us, right? He started at the time of the podcast, which was 2 days ago. He had started 80 some odd businesses, he was saying. And he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I mean, he's just a very, done very well. And his thing is he has this podcast where he showcases another business that you could start, right? And it's like, this is not like a business that he started and trying to like sell you on or anything. It's literally like he's friends with all these like serial ADD entrepreneur guys that are and gals that have just start companies, and he's like, here's a company that you can start right now. In fact, here's my friend Chris, and he's doing the same thing. And then these
It's like
guys will literally
start it, build it, get bored, sell it, start the next one.
well,
Basically.
and they'll give you their whole playbook. Like, here's what you do. In fact, here, we'll go online and do it right now. And so you can just, so if you took the time, you could copy if you find one of the ideas interesting. And well, so anyway, in their conversation, they were talking about how there's basically three. Well, this is Corner's thing is there's basically three kind of archetypes of a leader in a company, an entrepreneur, right? You
Okay.
have the starter, right? The guy who starts companies, gets an idea, and he goes and acts on it, right? Like, oh, I could make a bunch of money selling, popcorn, bags to whatever, right? And
Right.
so, and they start the company, right? And then you have the operator, right? And so the operator is the guy who like, wakes up, sees the machinery, and is like, okay, how do we iterate on this? How do we make this 100% better, or 50% better, or whatever the case may be, right? And their passion is basically like they're obsessed with
Efficiency,
efficiencies and all that stuff, right?
maximizing. Yeah.
Right. and then you have the closer, let's say, and that's the guy who, and this is usually kind of a deal maker kind of a guy, a person who's like super connected, who's like, maybe he comes in late into an organization to prep them to go public or for sale or whatever the case may be, right? So here are the missing pieces to raise your valuation and and then we can exit, everybody can make money. And the guy was asking, well, which one are you? And he says, oh, unquestionably number one, right? Like I love starting something new. I love getting up and running. But like, if I'm, when it gets to the point where you're just kind of tinkering with it and trying to find those efficiencies and stuff, I get bored. I'm like not interested in that. Somebody else would be way better suited for that. And he said, yeah, he goes, is it possible to be all three? And he said, yeah, of course, he goes, but there's only three people that have started companies that done all three, where they started, built, optimized, and then monetized the company he used the $1 trillion mark. And he was like, there's only three people. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and who's the dude at NVIDIA? Like those right, those three guys. And then the other guy goes, well, I mean, there's plenty that have done it to the $1 billion level. He goes, well, yeah, there's, there are, but he's like, that's a much rarer thing. And he goes, and so the Dynasty CEO guy was asking him, well, have you ever thought like,
just one second. The cash out part for the third, that would count as like going public would count.
Of course, yeah.
Because you're selling the company to the market.
To the public. That's right. Okay. That's right.
Just because I'm like, these guys are still with it. They didn't sell, but I guess
but they did. They did. They don't. I mean, they may control the company because of how many shares they have, but they're not the owner. It's owned by the public, right? Okay. So, a liquidity event, let's say. So the Diary of a CEO guy, like I've been watching his interviews for a long time. And one of the things that he's really all about, and most of the really successful people like the Zuckerbergs or Musks or whatever, they'll argue that really it's focus, right? It's the ability to take something and zero in on it and focus like a laser beam. Like the higher levels of focus that you have, the more likelihood you have of really building something, huge. And he's like, so you've made hundreds of millions of dollars, you say, but you've never made like, you're not in the billionaire club and whatever. Like, has it ever occurred to you that out of these businesses, if you could just maybe focus on one and really like put your thing in there, do you feel like you would have achieved more success and whatever at this, I mean, you're still a young guy, obviously, and he said, oh, probably. He goes, I actually tried that. And he was talking about a couple of his projects, because earlier it was like, well, that's what you do, right? You start, you build, you iterate, whatever. And he's like, I just, it's not for me. He's like, he goes, so what would my life look like? Like, I'd be, so instead of running around and doing all this stuff, like, I'd be in meetings, I'd be in boardrooms, I'd be, like negotiating things on conference calls and whatever. Because I might as well like, just kill myself. Like, I don't want to do that,
That's like terrible. Why would I choose that life? Yeah.
And he's got young kids and stuff, and he's just like, dude, like I love having like, I mean, out of the 80 companies that are still alive, maybe 10 or 15 of them are actually like, functioning and profitable companies. The rest of them are, garbage or whatever, as you would suspect. But he's like, yeah, I love my life. He goes, like, I love my life. I think of a new idea, I spin it up, I put some people in charge, we run it, we see what happens. Sometimes some of them are profitable, some are not profitable. He goes, every day is something new, every day is a new challenge. I have plenty of time to hang out with my kids, plenty of time with my wife, doing all the things that I love doing. Like, I don't want to get seduced by, like, why would I want something that I don't want? And I thought it was such a high level of self-awareness, where like, there's no doubt, like if you watch the guy's podcast, like you would kind of get this, I think, the same impression that I do. Like, this is an extremely capable person who could do whatever he set his mind to do. And yet he has kind of chosen to say, no, it's like beyond this is not something that has any real appeal to me. So all of the pressure and that whole example of like, wherever I am is not it. I have to go over here, right? And what's that old parable about the Mexican fisherman? If you remember the Timothy Ferris parable. It's just, I love that. It's such a rare thing to see, and I just and it was really, this is like, I saw it yesterday, the interview, and I just was like, man, to what extent, I started asking a bunch of questions about myself, like, to what extent am I doing that? How can I really kind of maybe take some quiet time, think through like what's really important, and really make sure that so I run my own business. Like, is it calibrated to actually what my values are, not some values that you write on a board, but actually like what I think is valuable.
Mhm.
And so it was interesting. I'll send you the link. Check it out. See what
Yeah,
you think.
I'm curious. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I can definitely see if you thought you had it in you to become a billionaire. I could see how that would be very tempting. Just because it's like there's sort of like happiness scales, where you can say stuff like, well, if I made 10 times as much money as I do now, my life would be about the same. I would just have my house would be nicer, my car would be nicer. I would be able to retire earlier, but if I like what I'm doing, I'm not really excited about retiring. Like if I'm about to turn 47, and you said, "Hey, guess what? In 15 years, you can retire because you'll be 62." And I'll be like, "Well, I don't want to do that. Like, I love teaching." So, so it's like, well, okay, you can quit earlier. That doesn't seem very appealing. So it's like, okay, 10 times more money actually doesn't change as much as I might want it to or think about it. But if it was something like 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times more, and I just saw an article about, who Gabe Newell is,
Mm-mm.
former Microsoft employee. He's the founder of Valve Software,
Okay.
the guys that make Steam, the Steam Deck, and all that stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
they basically own PC gaming, and he's a billionaire. His company Valve is private, so that gives you an idea of how much money this guy has. And he just bought his third yacht, and
The
the
third
yacht,
guy.
the yacht that he wanted, the company was like, "Well, we can make this for you, but like." The problem is we don't have the ability. You would have to pay for the whole thing up front for us to get started because of how elaborate
Mm.
this is. And he says, "Well, I've got a better idea for you. How about if I just buy you?"
Bye. You're coming. You work for me
And
now.
then, yeah, so the yacht, he bought the company that builds
Wow.
yachts so that he could reserve their entire production output to build this thing for him. And then like afterwards, then they can work on their other projects. But it's like, oh, well, now you don't have to worry about being profitable. I've
Yeah.
just purchased it. And I think it's getting delivered next week or something. And I was looking at the specs of it. It's just completely bonkers, just
Really.
ridiculous. And it's like, oh yeah, it's his third yacht. I was like, oh, well, now that would be a significantly different life where it's like, oh no, no, that would be fundamentally different. And so I wonder then if it's like even possible to compare it, or
Mm.
like, would you know, I don't think I would be significantly happier making twice as much as I do now. But if I made that much money, you know, like how would you know what your life would be like? It would be so
Yeah.
different. You couldn't even
Yeah.
compare.
Yeah. 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 I think it's hard to get your mind around that kind of difference. I have,
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I got some friends that are, well, some of my friends have been blessed way better than I have. That's what I'm saying. And you hang out with some of these people, and you're just like, wow, your life is bonkers, man. Yeah, just. But I think it speaks to. In fact, I was listening to something political the other day, shocker, and they were talking about how
No, stay
they were
away.
talking about how the poverty line, right? Like the way that we come up with the federal poverty limit is based almost entirely
Oh,
around
what
food,
is the measure?
because the calculations that they use were like, okay, so a family of such and such, the biggest expense is going to be food, da da da, and so therefore this is this, and we do a multiple, and that's how you come up with the poverty line. Well, that calculation is like super old, and in fact, the number one expense that most families have is not food anymore.
Is it
It's
housing?
childcare, ironically.
Childcare is free after they're
Right.
5.
So yeah, it's either expensive because one of the partners stays at home, costing you an income, right?
Okay.
Or they go to
Uh,
work, and you're shelling out for
do we count opportunity cost as cost in this case?
uh well, just I don't see how you can. How can you not? So
Well, like I'm just thinking like there's certain things in my life that I don't have to do, right? And so you say, well, um like I could have made more. So I could have made more money if I did X, Y, and Z. And so this job is actually costing me money.
well, no,
I'm
it's
like,
not. It's not that. It's just that, okay, before I have children, I have a job. right? Let's say I'm a stay-at-home dad, right? So before I'm a stay-at-home dad, I go to
Okay.
work, and so we're pulling in, let's
Okay.
say whatever the number is, right? And then I have children, and I decide I want to stay at home. My wife's going to work. I'm going to stay at home or whatever. And so there is a cost to us getting me out of the workforce, right? And you hear in the traditional role, a trad wife or whatever, you hear that all the time. It's like, oh, I need to get my wife back in the house. My brother-in-law next door, he just did that. They started. It was a huge milestone for him, actually. This is just like maybe a couple months ago
Oh,
that his construction business started doing well enough that he could afford to, for her to quit her job. And it was a really big deal for her. She really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and do all this stuff. And so it was like, okay, let's get there. And here's the
yeah.
number I hit, and they hit it. And it was this big deal, and she could quit her job. And so, but yeah, so there is a cost, and you have to figure out how to deal. I mean, that's reality, right? So
She better be making his lunch
that's
every
what he's
day.
saying the other day. He's like, no
Right?
excuse for the laundry and the dishes not to be done now,
Yeah, it needs to be really
But,
I need to get
right,
really good lunch tax free.
right. Well, they were giving each other a hard time actually last night. They were over for dinner, and I was like, what?
Oh, that's
Hey,
cute
I
though.
didn't even realize. Oh, that's so great, man. Well, you can come over and do my dishes too. And
Yeah.
I still, my wife still works. In fact, I'm the one that does the dishes in my house. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the dish man. But
Oh,
yeah.
me too. Me too. I volunteered for that when it's like my moment of zen. Like, don't touch the
Oh,
dishes.
but
I'll
where I
do
was
it.
going with that was that because the poverty limit, like if we restructured it
Yeah.
around housing and childcare, which are the two biggest expenses now, and then they
Okay.
they had used some number that whoever wrote this article based it on Queens in New York or something. And like that was,
Okay.
you could tell it was like, oh, this is written by somebody, if it's New Yorker
Well, I mean, wherever you pick is going to be arbitrary
well, but
anyway.
it's,
Like, if you'd picked somewhere in rural West Virginia, that would have sandbagged it in the other direction.
right. But why wouldn't you pick somewhere like Cleveland or Kansas City or somewhere that's like right smack in the middle of anyway, whatever. But but
Oh,
but
well,
yeah, so they were saying that actually the poverty limit should be $140,000, and using the same logic that they did with the food back in the day, that now because the biggest expenses are these things, and here's the average in Queens, and so therefore whatever. But when I pulled a couple of numbers and just kind of like messed with some things, I'm like, but according to that math and according to that logic, even in like a place like Kansas City or Nashville or whatever, yeah, it's closer to 100K. Using the same methodologies that they came up with the poverty line before, right? And no,
mhm.
no, that's neither here nor there. But that whole kind of like rabbit hole that I went down brought me across this other article, and it was talking about your perceived quality of life, right? Like there is a massive difference between somebody making $50,000 and somebody making $80,000, right? Like that is a big difference, right?
Yeah.
30K, right? But the difference of you stressing about, I mean, you're definitely stressing about your bills. You're making 50K, especially if you've got a family somewhere. You get to like 80, 85, 90, kind of that range right now in the United States, like just on average, you are not worried about paying your bills every month, unless you're just making some bad decisions, like you just, it's like you don't have, you're not going on fancy vacations or buying a yacht, but you're also not stressed. You probably have a little bit extra.
The electricity is going to get paid. That's
Right.
fine.
You're gonna. It's
Yeah.
not where, like, you and I have both been in situations where like I've had too much month left at the end of my money, you know, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, and it's like, man, I'll dig through the couch here so I can go to Whataburger. That's
Oh, I've had the electricity shut off because I couldn't pay
there
it
you go.
in
In
Texas.
Texas. Wow. Hopefully the weather was. But yeah, it's interesting though, because once you get to like, let's say now you're on the other side. Let's say you're at 140 or 150,000. To go from 150,000 to 180,000, there's still $30,000 of delta there. Even if you amped it up by percentage, and let's say it was 150,000 to 200,000, there's not the
Mhm.
same like difference, appreciable difference in your standard of living, right? Than that
Yeah.
same increase percentage wise lower down the scale. Um,
So is that are you taking that as like an indication that it is like a natural poverty line?
that's what I would think. Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
kinda how
that's kind
you're
of like,
yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
down here every dollar matters, right? Up here, I mean, more dollars are always nice, like, but it's not, it's
Yeah.
not, oh, now I can afford to go to this other private school, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be, right? Yeah.
Right, right, right. That I was thinking of some of the movies that we had grown up with that were made in the 40s and 50s, and some of the concerns about food. And it's like, oh well, we're not going to be able to get beef this week. We're eating
Beans.
beans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Beans, and it's like, like, okay with the beans, and some are like, we hate beans. Where's the meat? And they're like, meat's not happening this week. Next week
Right.
maybe.
Right.
And it's like they didn't consider themselves poor. So I wonder if it's like the sort of comfort that you're talking about, where you're like, hey, bills are going to get paid, not really that worried about it. Making more doesn't actually change dramatically what my quality of life would be, or whatever. It's like, oh, you haven't described not being poor, you've described being middle class. you know and so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
And also back then, like I just think like the way that we are connected to each other now,
Hmm.
visibly connected, right? Like, I mean, I can go on my phone and I'm connected to, a few thousand people who are connected to, let's say a couple hundred each, even on the low end, you get to see the entire world, right? So you're just bombarded all the time with people who are ostensibly doing better than you are,
Sure.
but for whatever, and you can shrug it off being like, who cares? But that is a huge thing. Like, people are like, oh my God, like, I'm really behind. I'm not, look at all the things these people are doing. I can't even afford to, and it's but if you and everybody is eating beans because that's the way it is right now, then it doesn't occur as I'm poor. It's like, hey, we're all having a tough time right now,
So I wonder if, like, um if poor then so this is always kind of an issue when it comes to things like measurement, you know um so like poor could be like an absolute value, um where we say, like, you are unable. I don't know.
Well, I think these are all arbitrary number. I mean,
They're all,
like,
yeah.
one person's poor is another person's, we
But
got
but
plenty,
they're
so
gonna be relative, right? Because it's like, because if I said something like, you can't afford a normal house, it's like, well, what's
what's
that?
normal?
What's
Yeah,
a normal
that's,
house,
that's right.
or like, if I said something like, well, no, only middle class people own their own vehicles. Like, you normally bike to work or take public transit.
Take
That's
the
what the bus
bus or
is
whatever.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, you own your own car, you can afford all those
you
expenses.
live in the suburbs. Yeah,
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 you pay taxes on all that stuff, you can afford gas. It's like, you're not poor,
you're
you're
doing
middle
fine.
class,
Well, in fact, yeah, then we were talking about this. Who was I talking to? We were talking about the value of homes.
Hmm.
And initially, I had been making the point. I was totally wrong on this one. I had been making the point that, look, back in, let's say let's say Leave It to Beaver, right? So World War II generation coming back, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's arguably the strongest the middle class has ever been, in the United States, in absolute terms.
Yeah,
And
pre-70 something or other.
pre 70s, yeah,
Yeah.
50s, 60s,
Yeah.
and according to every metric, that's the strongest
Yeah.
middle class, right? Like,
If we're talking
dad
about, like,
goes to
the
work.
ratio between upper and lower classes. That's
Correct. Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah. And okay, so let's say your average person made, $5,000 a year salary, right? And the average house was $15,000, let's say. And so, it's a 3 years, right, of salary to the house, right? And today, right, I think the average person makes around, I think, what is the number, 76, 77, something like that.
Yeah.
And the average home, though, is like 400 and some, $1,000 worth, nationally, high threes, low fours. And it's like, okay, well, that multiple is moving away from us, right? Like, so
Right.
it now costs more years of your income of average income to buy the average house. And so I was making the argument that, which I, in my core, is still kind of difficult for me to kind of shake loose of it, but it's like, okay, the all the gains in productivity, all this other kind of stuff, like the wealth is not transferring down to like the average working person. Most of the wealth is being concentrated, in the asset owning class, right? Um, and so like there's all these statistics now of like, kids who don't believe that they're going to be able to afford a house, and which is literally unfeasible to buy. You do the interest rate with the average property value. It's like, dude, I'm never going to buy a house,
Yeah.
forget that. And so, and the overwhelming sense right now that the younger generation has, I'm talking about like people in their teens, 20s, early 30s, who they're like, no, I'm not going to do better than my parents. Like this is the first time in I think American history where there's not like oh yeah, I'm going to do way better than my parents. Like I thought I was, you thought you were, we all thought it. That's kind of a normal thing, and that's not normal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, okay, well, is this the beginning of the end? This trajectory. But somebody made a really good point to me. They're like, well, okay, look, yes, but the average home, like, and they're like, look, because I've where I used to live here in Austin, with these old style bungalows and whatever, Hyde Park and whatnot. And your average 3-bedroom home is like 1,200, 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
For a 3-bedroom home.
It's a baby.
Yeah, dude. I mean, my 2-bedroom apartment downtown was 2,000 square feet. And it's like, when we moved out of that, it was like, dude, there's no way I could be in something smaller than 2,000 square. And it's like, right. And it's like we have a 2,500 square foot house right now. Which is not even that special. I mean, at all. It's just a house in the suburbs. And most of the time I'm like, man, this place is too small. I need something bigger. And the fact is that like, okay, for, a young family with young kids, like this house is huge compared to most of the generations that came before me for the last like 60, 70, 100 years even. It's like, the house is a mansion, but it doesn't occur as a mansion. We've just gotten used to much bigger things. So like, our standard of what we expect and what we require is so much more, right? Like the same conversation about like, oh, how like used to be, a man could afford to go out and work and provide for his wife and his kids, and now you need 2 incomes just to make ends meet. It's like, well, do you really though? Like, or is it just? I mean, because I remember when our dad went to work and our mom stayed home, and we had one car. They shared it,
Mm-hmm.
Dad took the bus to work, I walked to school, and I was walking to school locally. A fancy night out was like going to McDonald's or something, and like every once every other week we could go to Mr. Freeze and get an ice cream cone that was like $1.50,
Yep.
This is
Mowing your own lawn.
Yeah. And it's like, so it's like the things that we require, I think so it's like, okay, well, what is a standard of living? It's like, well, that's defined by the person that's living it,
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, I think if someone asked me about my life and I was like, well, so I live in a 2,600 square foot house, 4-bedroom, it's 2-story. There are 3 cars here, one for me, one for my wife, one for my daughter.
Detached garage.
Yeah. I have a detached garage. I have motorcycles. I have a lawn that has like fruit trees in it. Someone comes and takes care of my shrubs and my lawn. I don't even think about it. Like I just come home and it's done. It's nice. I have 2 refrigerators. I've got I've got this
2
giant
refrigerators. Right.
I've got a giant sink, I've got like a microwave, a double oven, I've got a glass pane. Like if I start going through all this stuff and talking to someone in the 40s, they're like, holy cow, like
Rich. Yeah.
what kind of life is this? And you're like, I mean, I'm just kind of barely making it. And we're like,
just barely making it, man. Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Right.
That's incredible.
That's exactly my point. Yeah. That's exactly my point.
I eat whatever I want, I got a beer fridge stocked with like really nice
craft beer from all over the world. Yeah. liquor from 16 nations in my bar, my wet bar, my living room.
My own wet bar. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
you have your own gym. You have your own gym in your house.
It would just seem like amazing.
Opulence. I has it. Remember that commercial back in the day, the Russian dude? Opulence. I has it.
Yeah, so I think a good comparison point is if you take a look at the people that are living in like they're building their own or having made tiny houses, tiny homes, and not the really really little ones, but the ones that have like a bedroom, loft bedroom, and living area and reasonable kitchen. I mean, you see this some of them that are like truly minimalistic, where they're I saw one where it's like a family of 4 in one, and the kitchen there's no kitchen. Like they have an area sink and some stuff, but like, oh no, we cook everything outside on our
outside.
grill. Like that's how it, like why would we ever cook inside? Like you want
Right.
things cooked with fire. I mean, that's the way the good the good Lord
Right.
intended,
Right. Right. And there's something better about it. There is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But it's kind of like, okay, well that's very restrictive. But thinking of these people that build these, I was seeing one where a guy was showing off this home that he built with his dad, and he's working construction right now. Didn't go to college, and he owns this thing free and clear. He pays something like it's like $250 a month or something like that, and a utility hookup, and that's it. Like he's got Starlink internet, and it's like, hey, you're completely independent. You own your own place. You can do whatever you want with it. And he's like 24 or something like that.
It's freedom,
Like,
man. Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah. Like this there's in a way there's something like much more American about what he's doing than what I'm doing.
Oh, sure.
Um, and it's like
Well,
I don't know.
it's weird to think that all the things that you possess, right? All the things that you worked hard to obtain, whatever those words are, they actually end up owning you. It's like, right? Like,
A bunch of HELOC.
they were talking about. Have you ever read that book, Sapiens? What's his name? The Jewish guy.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't read
No,
it.
Noah Harari, I think. So good, man. He just literally tracks our species, Homo sapiens, like we're from the very first, Lucy or whatever her name was, right? All the way through, Lucy, Adam, Eve, whatever, but all the way through today. But he was talking about how wheat, right? That out of, there's this evolution of like, your hunter gatherer tribes and all this other kind of stuff. But then when they discovered wheat, they planted wheat. It actually,
Einkorn.
it's like, yeah, the idea is, of course, that, humans are cultivating wheat, but in reality, it's wheat that's cultivating the humans. And it's a fascinating when he kind of makes the case for it, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. Like that this plant civilized people, for whatever value that's worth, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like living in civilization.
Yeah.
I like having a written language. I like electricity.
Written language, electricity, but you can have those things in the bus, in the camper, or
No,
whatever you're
I
just
mean,
talking about.
you said like but we wouldn't have gotten those without wheat.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Wait, make the circle close.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
lowly grass
Yeah.
of our lives.
What,
Yeah.
so what topics, man? What are we going to discuss today? What do you see out there? I've been relatively bored, I have to tell you. It feels very
So
boring right now. It's like a lot of
so
petty skirmishes over nonsense, in my opinion. But
same here. I think that it's been so bad that I've just immersed myself completely in like finals and stuff, and
right, yeah, I'm just like, I
I've
have a
been
hard time
even
staying informed. I'm like, I don't want to be informed of this. This is all garbage.
it's like I was looking through some of the headlines this morning, like, oh, turns out President Zelensky of Ukraine has decided not to accept the Trump peace deal. I'm like, okay,
I predicted that like before,
whatever.
months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, the European powers are like, don't do it. You can still win. Like, oh, okay, give it a try. Um, so there's that stuff going on right now. There's like some really weird supply constraints going on in the computer world due to AI, but it's kind of like
But Trump just said that they can sell the NVIDIA chips to China now. Yeah.
the last generation,
Right. Right.
not the new ones. It's not going to matter. Like this is one of the things that I think people don't realize that the Chinese AI companies are already ahead of the U.S.
Well, it's interesting that the new Google Gemini 3, I've been raving about
Yeah.
it. Love it. It's amazing. It's the best one of them.
Oh, it's very good, very high quality output.
But it's not on the new chips. It's on their old,
Nope.
yeah.
No, it's on their own.
Right. They made it.
They're not even.
Yeah.
They're not even.
But it's not that
NVIDIA
it's not that what they made is like more advanced than the NVIDIA chips. It's just they control everything, so, and they have more compute to throw at it.
Well, it's different, and this is something I think is going to happen here real soon. And Google is, I think, was the first really big company to do this. Another company called Grok, Grok, or Q, Grok. Um, they started this idea. So if you remember when people were doing a lot of Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was new, you're looking it up. Good.
Yeah.
Um, so if you remember when Bitcoin was new, people were mining it on their processors, on their CPUs.
Okay.
And somebody figured out, wait, we can, because you have this parallel processor, the GPU that's programmable. Like before, the original GPUs could only do graphics. But then as they became programmable, then it was like, well, look, we could do the Bitcoin algorithm on the GPU and it's way faster because it's more parallel. And each operation doesn't depend on the operation before. You could just run them all at the same time. So you don't need this CPU's in order thing. You can just push the whole thing at once with the GPU. And so then everyone's using GPUs, and all the GPU supply it gets bought up by the miners, and it's like all crazy. Then some companies figured out, wait a minute, this algorithm, we don't need a whole GPU. Like there's so many things that GPU does. It's very general purpose. Instead, we could develop a set of logic gates and just make that as a chip. We don't need the whole GPU. We just need it to do that one algorithm, the RSA, or I can't
For
remember
the
what
Bitcoin mining or whatever, right? Crypto mining. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
whatever
do
that algorithm is.
over and over and over again. Yeah.
And without all the other stuff, like you just don't need all the other stuff. You can just have it do this only, and it'll take less electricity and it'll be faster. And so the less electricity that it takes, since Bitcoin is basically you're buying the delta when you're mining it, you're basically the delta between the cost of the electricity and hardware and the
The
value
value of
of
the coin you
Bitcoin,
create. Yep.
that difference. And so if you can bring the electricity costs down, then you basically put all the other miners out of business. And so that's what happened. Companies started making these specialized chips. ASICs are called ASICs. And they do one and only one thing, and that is mine Bitcoin. So same thing. So if you look at not necessarily for training, but for inference, it's not really fancy math. It's like a matrix multiply add thing for inference. But you don't need a whole GPU to do it.
Mm.
So what Grok, I don't know,
Grok. Yeah.
Grok, does is they make chips that do inference, but this inference is on their ASICs. So they're able to do it. It's very fast. If you've ever tried to get results out of it, it's like the tokens per second is breathtaking. And Google is using the same thing. Their TPUs
Tensors,
are
right? Yeah.
ASICs.
Interesting.
So you don't. So if you think about a GPU, it's constantly having to go get memory and doing a bunch of stuff, a lot of transfers. And with these TPUs, these ASICs, they just take the results of one and move it to the next stage. So you're just copying within the chip. So you're not doing all the stuff in and out of the chip. It's just moving along from one end of the chip to the other. That's passing the results of each one along. So it's really clever. But what it means is that like the whole thing with like, oh my gosh, everything is NVIDIA now. Like NVIDIA. Like, yes, as long as the AI workloads are still most efficiently done on a GPU. And it's like it's tricky because if you're someone that like wants to own the hardware yourself, of course you're going to buy a GPU because you're going to use it for other stuff too. And if you had like a few servers in your company's data center, you probably also are using a GPU or two. But these people are talking about building out thousands of these machines, right? I mean, Google's Gemini cluster, who knows how big it is? So they can actually afford whatever specialized chip they need, even if they need to develop it themselves.
Well, Anthropic just announced that they're going to do 1 million TPUs and a gigawatt of capacity. And so Google's basically, I mean, they announced that partnership just recently, and it's like, oh, this is starting to get really interesting. Like it's almost like it was weird. It was like you had this hockey stick of what do you call it? Efficacy, right? Where the models can do all this new stuff, but you're almost been in this little bit of an iterative kind of phase, and then you have this leaps forward, right? I think it's. I mean, we haven't even. I mean, this is about to get really interesting. Whatever.
Well, I think what we're going to see, and this is Anthropic's in kind of a funny position because they have really slow inference speeds. Because as a company, they don't want to use the hardware for inference. They want to use the hardware for research and for creating new models, for
Hmm.
refining their own models. Because they have the highest when it comes to like code quality. They have the highest code quality. Um, but the worst performance for the end user. And it's just because they don't want they don't want to use their GPUs, which could be used for training, to be used for inference. So if they buy a bunch of TPUs clusters from Google, from the Gemini group, no problem. All the inference goes through those, and our precious GPUs that can do all sorts of interesting things. We're going to have those do the training. So I think, though, what this means is that NVIDIA is about to get cut out of this market. So they're going to still own the training side of things, but the inference side, I think they're about to lose it. And I don't know when. Like when this happens, is it like this year, is it next year or something? But the same way that like GPUs are just not used for Bitcoin crypto mining anymore, uh, most likely GPUs will not be used for inference other than yourself. Like if you're running your own stuff, then you would use a GPU because you're using what you're not going to buy a massive TPU cluster for yourself.
Right,
Like
right, right,
you're
right.
like,
Yeah,
well,
you're just
no,
gonna
for
rent one.
privacy
Yeah.
reasons, I want to use my own or something like that. It'll still be on a GPU, but in a data center, inference is, I think, going to be pushed all the way to these tensor processing units or ASICs, something like what Grok has or what Gemini's using. So I think right now this market is being held up by NVIDIA. So if you know,
Held up, you mean propped up, not held back.
no, right, propped
Yeah,
up,
right.
right? Because
Yeah.
because a lot of these companies can't even, they're not making any money. They're losing money, and so what they'll do is investment rounds, and half the investment rounds now are coming from Nvidia because Nvidia has this
Mm.
giant market cap. So like,
Yeah, I
if
saw that.
you,
In fact, did you send me that, or did I send you that the illustration that showed the cycle of money, where it's like,
oh,
we're- they're-
it's been going around.
yeah, yeah, it's like they book this revenue, book this expenses, basically like 4 or 5 companies, and the money just makes this basic circle, but
Right.
it's all booked revenue. So
Right. So it's like if we both loan each other $100 million, then that's revenue on the books. But
right,
it's
right,
what they call it, circular accounting.
right. I loan you $1 million, you loan me $1 million. Now we have 2 million. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah, no. but that, but that's kind of what's going on right now,
Right.
and I think Nvidia is more or less at the center of it. So at some point, either because ASICs take over that, or because in China they have enough homegrown stuff that they're working on or using. China's right now pretty hyper focused on efficiency because if they can't go buy, it's like, oh yeah, the government's just going to cut us a check to buy $10 billion worth of the latest hardware. It's like, well, you don't have that. You can't even get the latest hardware. You got to figure out how to make these things work as efficiently as absolutely possible, and that's what they're doing. And so it may turn out that it's like, well, the efficiency you get sort of like the innovation, new technique kind of stuff happening in the US and in Europe, and then all the efficiency gains happening in China. And so then it's like, well, we don't want to buy this year's GPU. We'll wait for next year. And it's like once you miss one of those sales cycles, you'll get this kind of domino effect through the industry. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that. But it's OpenAI just uh bought contracted 40% of the RAM market for 2026. Did you hear about this?
I did, and it was
Yeah.
like, man, if you're gonna buy a PC, you better buy one now.
Do it now. Well, a couple companies have stockpiled to be ready for it. Sony did, which is why PS5s were on sale for Black Friday because they're like, man, we got enough. we
We got plenty. Yeah, we
we
got
got we
plenty.
got 2 years worth of memory sitting in warehouses.
Yeah,
We're
we're
fine.
all good over here.
Um, Lenovo has also, for consumer side, I don't know about on the enterprise side. On the consumer side, they're stockpiled, so the price of their laptop should be fine. And Apple should be okay because they don't use off-the-shelf memory. Their memory is in the chip. It's not like it's soldered to the motherboard. It's in the chip.
Right.
And so those contracts are good for however long the life of those laptops are, however long they plan to manufacture them. So 3 years, 4 years, whatever. So Apple will be fine. But like Dell, I have no idea. I have no idea about like HP or Acer if they're going to be able to supply. And if not, I mean, the prices of laptops, imagine the price of a laptop going up $300 or $400, which is big. I mean, that's a really hard, like if you're looking at, there's, if we're looking at super high
I
end
just sent you
stuff.
that refurbished Mac for $400. See,
Yeah.
that's the price difference in a new machine.
Well, and I think that might be something that starts to happen is people are like, well, we'll hold on to this one or they'll buy a refurb.
Right.
Microsoft right now is very worried about their Windows 11 adoption rate. And it's
They
like
should be. It sucks.
now being told it's like, oh yeah, there's a giant chunk of the consumer base that will not be buying computers because they're suddenly $200 or $300 more expensive. So I mean, think about it. There's a big psychological difference between paying $900 for a laptop and $1,100 for a laptop.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
And dude, like, I mean, look, so when we were getting ready for the podcast, right, and I was a few minutes late, and I was like, hey, sorry, man, I had computer problems. Well, the computer problem was that my Windows computer, for some reason, it's like completely bogged down in memory. Like I have this file copy situation going where I'm like moving some files from this drive to that drive.
okay.
It's going on in the background.
Okay.
But I have 32 gigs of RAM. Like this is a simple copy job.
Windows doesn't care.
It's just it's gumming up everything, and it's like, dude, it's caused my browser to crash. Like if I open up a fifth tab, it's like, and then the browser crashes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I really don't want the computer to freaking stall out because I really need this copy job to complete. I don't want to have to figure out what copied and what didn't copy. And I was just like, okay, well, so I'm just gonna boot up the Mac, and but that PC. And I've had this conversation many times. It's like, okay, that PC, I have Windows on it so I can play my Steam games, but realistically, like, I mean, Windows just sucks. If I run Linux on it, it's just so much faster, so much quicker, so unbogged down with anything. And I'm almost like, okay, well, do I really care about these anti-cheat games? I just like freaking wipe Windows out of here.
Something else. I'll just play something else.
Yeah, I'll play something else. Yeah, exactly. And
so I ran into this. I put Windows on my my desktop. It's a dual boot, although I almost am never in Windows. But like, yeah, I'll see how it's doing, So I boot in there and I made it 2 weeks, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. It's like okay, I just set aside all the visual stuff, like all the visual problems with it. The times where like the start menu just crashes. You're like, how does the start
menu crash?
Like, I mean, I remember using Windows 95 when the start menu was introduced. I don't remember the start menu ever. A lot of other things crashed in Windows 95, but I don't remember the start menu ever crashing.
Right.
Or like you'll open up the file manager and it'll just block. You'll just there'll be a blank window for like 2 seconds while it checks something on the network or whatever, and then displays. And you're like just waiting for it to come up. Well, anyway, there's so many weird blocking IO things. Where like if I'm downloading a new model in LM Studio to do some AI stuff, if I'm downloading it, I mean, it's using up a lot of bandwidth or whatever. Well, in Linux, I can download that. I can have Steam updating 5 games.
Right.
I can be do whatever. I'll never even notice. Like I'll look and like, is it done downloading? Oh, it's still going. It's like 130 gigabytes of data. It's like, I guess it's still going. In Windows, it would block. So like my music would pause and I would look over and I'd see the hard drive light just on, and like nothing was responsive. And then like 3-4 seconds go by and then it starts up again, and you're like, why is it blocking? Like that program over there, why is it blocking this one? Like they're different programs.
Yeah.
So eventually I was just like, I just can't do it, Like it's just too bad. I'm sorry. I try every couple of months and like maybe this time. Like
yeah.
I even downloaded a tool that got rid of the recommended portion in the start menu.
Oh yeah, dude. I
And
gotta. Oh, dude, I gotta show you this tool if you're gonna use Windows at all.
the one that I found, it was called like it was like Wolf. It's Wolf Tools or something. But it was a revelation. Not only let me do that, but it also made the I could disable some features in File Explorer that were slowing it down. Another thing that it did,
This
one
is
of the
this
other
is
tools it had,
this is what
what
you
is
want
it?
right here. This is
What is it
this
called?
guy Chris Titus. Uh,
Oh yeah,
yeah, and he's got WinUtil and LinUtil and whatever, but his philosophy is really close to mine. It's like, dude, just I want
well, something that worked.
yeah, I want to strip out all the telemetry. I don't want Copilot. Like I got my own things going on, right? I don't want any Copilot. I don't want any, I only want essential updates, and even those I don't really, like if it's not a security update, don't give it to me at all until it's been around for 2 years, and I'll take it, right? Um, and but you can tweak whatever you want in here, but it's cool. He's got a package manager. He's got a bunch of different tweaks, and then there's this program that I was messing with called 10. What's it called? It's 10 something. Um, it's amazing, dude. So what it does, I'll have to find I'll have to find the link of it and send it to you. But it's a Windows program, a program for Windows that basically takes, how like all the different tweaks and stuff in your registry and in your config and all this other place, you have to go to all these different places to try to figure out like, how do I turn this flag on or off or whatever. It just puts all of it in one place. That's basically all it does, and it makes it real graphical. You just go down and want that, don't want that, whatever. It's like 10s10 or something, 10 silent. Uh, uh, I'll figure it out here in a minute, but it's phenomenal. I was like, dude, and it's free, totally free. And I kind of okay, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have all of that stuff turned off. I don't have any bloat in the Windows system at all, and it's still struggling through a file relocate. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I want to show you this just so you can laugh. Okay, so there, I'm sharing a window. It's the configuration window here for Dolphin. So Dolphin is just the
File manager
standard
for
file manager, and
Linux.
KDE, which is Plasma, which is one of the desktops for Linux. And look at this. This blew my mind. Context menu. This is what's in the context menu. And you can just select whatever you want.
When context menu, for those that don't know, is when you right click, like
Right.
in the file explorer, do I want to copy, move, etc. Right? And
So-
you can turn, exactly.
So, like in Windows Explorer, you right click and you get like their new context menu, which you can watch it fill in real time. This is the thing that also drove me nuts. You'd right click and you'd see stuff, and then it would go boop 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 boop, fill in, and then that's not even all of them. If you want to see all of them, there's another button that's like show the rest of it or whatever, like additional options. You click that one, and then you get this huge thing that you have no control over whatsoever, and they're trying to hide that by giving you the new one, but the new one is also bad. And in KDE, I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to see the share button. Right. So right now, if I right click, you can see the share button. If I deselect this and hit apply, the share button no longer appears when I right click.
Right.
It's just like I can just at will pick the things that I want to see.
Yeah. Well, this is my computer. I should do what I want.
I mean, it's like, oh wow, what a cool tweak. Is that like a registry hack? Was there some configuration file you had to dig into? It's like, no, that's just a feature. Just
in
a
the
normal
settings
feature. It's like,
yeah.
Like, just to give you an example, when I was in Windows Explorer, one of the things, because of the way it paints the window, I use dark mode. I'm a dark mode guy.
Yeah, I'm a dark mode guy. Yep.
So when it paints the window, it first creates the canvas. So basically, it gives you a blank window space where the files or the file stuff is going to go. And when it creates that window, it then looks and say, well, what should be in this canvas? And it's like, well, this stuff, and so then it'll display that. That canvas is white. So when you open File Explorer, you suddenly get boom, flash of white.
Yeah.
And it's like half as, it's very fast. It's just like a tenth of a second, but just bam, white. And so there's a whole tweak program
It's like your pupils dilate.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a whole program that people have built
yeah.
that changes that blank canvas in File Explorer from white to black. So that if you're in dark mode and you open it up, you get a tenth of a second of black, which is fine, versus a tenth of a
Right.
second of blazing white. But of course, if you're in light mode, it looks equally stupid to have it black and then suddenly come in as white. And so you need to remember whether you have this tweak installed or not. If you're switching dark mode or light mode, it's like, guys, like this is so dumb that we have to do this to make your thing sort of work.
I know.
Anyway, I'll stop
Yeah.
ranting about it. But it's like,
No, dude, I'm
it's
with you,
just
dude. I think
bad.
we should have a podcast where all we do is just bash
Just bash Windows.
Windows. I mean, it's just so horrible.
It's like I want to like it. I've been using Windows since version 1.1.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Windows 3.1 came out. 3.1 came out, and it was
Overlapping
OS
Windows.
2, and it was like, I like the tech better than OS 2, but Windows 3.1's really good. 95 Windows 2000 was amazing.
I just found it. It's
What?
called O and O Shut Up 10. Have you heard of this?
What?
Hold on. Let me show you.
Oh.
Okay, so O and O Shut Up 10. It's a free portable privacy utility designed for 10 and 11 that consolidates over 100 privacy, security, telemetry, and system updates into a user-friendly interface. Let's see here. It's absolutely worth getting. So you can also get this through what do you call it, WinGet or whatever, right? If you want to prefer to use a package manager, but this is what it looks like. Super easy, and you just go through here. I mean, there's hundreds of settings that you can. And so one of them that I turned off in mine is that that first version of the context menu, the new version where it's like you got to click more options. It's just like, you don't ever show me that. This is when I right click, I want to see everything, even though I don't want to use everything. I prefer to have all my options here than to double click.
Even though it looks like the same graphically as the thing that came out in Windows XP,
I don't care.
Show it to me anyway.
Yeah, I don't care. See how you can do this here? So you can disable telemetry. For those of you guys that don't know, telemetry is how they follow you around the internet. And then you can disable tracking. You can disable like, and this is, by the way, this is all free, completely free download. So it's a terrific little utility. I have no affiliation with this company, but it's a lifesaver.
I just love that, like the operating system is so bad that there's an entire industry
ecosystem of ways that I can unscrew up your software. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not even like I need to add some features. I just want to turn stuff off.
I want to turn off these features that are being foisted upon me.
So there's a guy, David something, or I can't think of his last name, but he's a Windows developer. He's one of the guys that was on the team that did Windows NT and stuff. So like old school developer. And big Microsoft guy, loves Microsoft. He's like, Windows 11 has some problems. Says, here's what I suggest they do. They need to create like a pro mode. They need to have like a button in settings where you click it, and it's like you can have as many disclaimers like, now we're not going to be responsible for. It's like, yep, just click the button.
Maybe have the person prove like they could write a little command script. If you can do that, if you can write the Hello World program, then you can get access to this,
exactly.
Something like that. Yeah,
just whatever it is. And then it's like it would turn off all telemetry, all tracking, all forced updates, all this. Like, so today my computer.
Well, that's what this does.
My laptop restarted after an update, and it comes back. It's like, are you ready for the new experience?
Right. It's like, no, bitch. I turned that off for a reason.
I already said no to all this stuff, and it's like, would you like to turn on backup now? It's like, no, I backed it up a different way. Do you want this? Do you want this? It takes me like 5 minutes to click no through everything. It's like, I clicked no through all this stuff a few months ago. Why is it asking me again? It's like, yeah, I want all that turned off. Everything, no game mode, no Windows experience mode, no nothing. I just want a button that I can click to turn everything off and just get me a blank OS that just does what I want. And all the comments, this guy's saying this in the video, all the comments are like, so you're saying you want to install Fedora 43? Why can't Windows be more like Fedora? It's like,
Yeah. What I'm hearing is it's time for you to move to Linux. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least Mac OS. I mean, Mac OS
Yeah.
respects your intelligence at least a little bit.
A little bit. Although they're getting worse. So
I haven't tried the new one yet. I was pretty. What was the one before Tahoe? Before Tahoe?
I don't even keep track of their names anymore. I used
The
to.
version right before.
I used to geek out about it pretty hard, but
The version right before, I really liked. I thought it was very nice.
the one right before this one. What am I on right now? I'm on Tahoe 26. I can't remember what the one before it was, but the one before was terrific. The Tahoe, uh, there's a few added features. It's kind of like, oh, that's kind of nice. Oh, I appreciate that. That's nice, you know. But the vast majority of it is like, dude, I don't understand who is working at the
Sequoia.
Sequoia. Yeah.
I thought Sequoia was very good. The things that were annoying about it were usually a toggle switch away. And if I wanted something a little fancier, like I like tiling support a little different than the way they have it set up. Very easy. It's like it gave me fine tiling support, but it didn't interfere with me changing out for something a little bit better. I thought it was
Right.
I thought it was super nice. So I haven't played with the new one though. Are you seeing some cracks in the armor?
I just you know, it's they went way overboard with this liquid glass design. They did the same thing on iOS too, by the way. And
You can see through the computer.
give me a break, man. It's like, I know that's not water. It looks like what was that Windows version that was like just atrocious with the Vista.
Vista.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god.
Actually,
this is
some of the
too bad.
screenshots reminded me of the first version of Mac OS 10, the Aqua interface. Were you using
yeah,
Mac?
I used that. I didn't have a Mac, but my roommate had a Mac. I used that all the time. I was like, this is kind of cool.
The scroll bars were like the big bubbles of water.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was what was that? What did they call that? It was like there was a word for it. Skeuomorphic.
Skeuomorphic, yeah.
Skeuomorphic.
Well, all the icons. So that was from that was something they borrowed from Next Step operating system. Was like all the icons looked like the thing. So like
Notepad. So Notepad had little pages that were curled up.
Pencil, you know, and stuff.
Yeah. I really, I mean, you got to hand it to Johnny Ive, and also the guys at Google are pretty good too. The you know, material design or flat design, whatever you want to call it, is it is nicer. I like it much better.
I'm not a fan. Like, it looks good in screenshots, but whenever I look at the screenshot, I usually pause it and I ask somebody, "Can you tell what's clickable and what's not?"
Right.
And the answer is always like, I have no idea. It's like, yeah, you're just going to have to guess. And eventually you'll guess right enough times and you'll remember, and then it'll feel natural. But there ain't nothing legible about this face at all. Like, you're just guessing.
Right. Can I click this? Can I click that? That happens a lot on my iPhone. It's like, what about here? What about here? How do we get out of here? Nope. That's what I always appreciated about Android. Like, Android's got its own problems, but you know, there was always a back button. You just like, go back. Get out of here. I don't like this. Go back.
Go back. Please.
Do we want to comment on any of this? Let's see here. Here's what I got. I got the immigration crackdowns, you know.
In Denmark or here?
No, here. Oh. That was another thing. The Denmark thing I thought was fascinating. You know, like after being Europe's pariah because they don't care about people, you know, and then now the entire EU is like, actually, we're going to do that too. We're done with.
Yeah. Well,
we could have a whole conversation about immigration, I think, and then you have the Pete Hegseth and this whole like I keep calling it Swift boats, but I'm pulling that from the Kerry era. But where they're blowing these drug boats out of the water. What's that?
The cartel boats.
Yeah, supposedly. But I mean, it's a great question. It's like, well, dude, like, what says who? You know. And then
turns out, I saw some polling on that. Turns out that is very popular.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean,
popular than Trump himself.
But yeah, I mean, like,
blowing up the drug boats. Like, yeah.
People love. People love blowing stuff up.
They do.
And people love it when, you know, the leader's tough. It's
Go get him.
I yeah. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me, but it's like, okay. I mean, people love that. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah. It plays well in Peoria.
Yeah, plays well in Peoria. That's perfect. Yeah. We got the well. Remember, I brought up that thing maybe a month or two ago where the Justice Department had come out with that new thing where it's like any anti-Christian,
Yeah.
anti-capitalist,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now they're making a list. They
Okay.
just announced this. They're
Check.
making a list of Americans with objectionable ideas. I'm like,
Okay.
this is, dude. If you're not, it doesn't matter whether you're on the right or left. If you look at that and go, that sounds like a great idea. Like, so if you have, they're designating people. Like, if you have radical ideas on gender ideology, let's say this is what they're saying,
Okay.
then that you could be that you're basically like they can designate you a domestic terrorist. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So no, we might agree even that, hey, this a radical gender ideology of, like, let's say, letting men play in women's sports and whatever, like that's pretty radical. But you're a terrorist.
So
And I'm like, dude, like, okay, so now President AOC takes over, and now she's like, actually, yeah, we love all this. In fact, radical gender ideology is objectionable, and you might be a terrorist. In fact, it's you Christians who are the ones that have the radical gender ideology.
so
It's crazy to
I
me.
think so I'll kind of rephrase what I said last time, which is um a terrorist can have any particular motivation, like in the same way that we say, oh my gosh, back during the war on terror, the good old days of 2001, 2002, whatever. um those were the days where it was like the radical Islamic terrorists kind of thing.
Right.
But that's no one would say it was like, oh, I guess all Muslims are like, no, just these terrorists are Muslims and they're doing this in the name of Islam. And I'm not a Islamic theologian, so I don't know how accurate their theology is, but that's what they're saying their motivation is, right? So if you have a group of terrorists that are, say, doing for some other reason, like say they're Marxists, they're like, we love communism, we hate the oligarchy, and so on. And you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like Bernie Sanders rhetoric. It's like, well, Sanders is not a has never has never advocated violence. Is not part of, as far as I know, any violent group. But if there's a violent group out there and they're saying this is why they're doing it, okay, right? Let's here they are. Here's what they say their stuff is. They're planning to use violence. So if you have a group of people that are like, pick the thing. I mean, we'll pick ourselves, right? If there's Christians that are like, we gotta go kill as many of abortionists as possible. Like this is a holy duty that we have or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh, I guess they're gonna come target all the Christians. It's like, well, if they did, that would be a problem. But if they said, hey, look, there's this terrorist organization out there, they're trying to kill doctors, and they're doing it for some crazy Christian ideology, that doesn't seem like it's inaccurate. Or we can't say, well, because there are many Christians who are not, and we're not going to target them, we now can't draw the line between what these people are saying and the violence that they're doing. So, if you say, look, there are terrorist organizations out there, and they
There's going
have
to be a lot more, because since that's just a label.
and they
So
have well,
we're gonna because when you apply that label to somebody,
I don't
you
think
all the FBI and the Justice Department, they get all these get out of jail free cards in terms of, well, they don't have to respect any civil rights or any of these other things according to
because
the
they're
Patriot
terrorists,
Act.
right?
That's right.
So
And so we slap terrorists on them, and now we can do all this other kind of stuff. And
I
it's
guess I guess what I'm
all right,
I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that, like, yes, there's the use of the word. I guess, like, it's the way Antifa uses fascist. It's like,
wrong,
yeah,
wrong. That's
no,
just
no,
a talking point. When
no,
you
no,
put when the Justice Department labels you a terror, sorry,
yeah. What I'm saying is that, like, yeah, they're using it in a way that is improper, but there is a meaning to the word, right? And
right?
so if I said, okay, look, the FBI, maybe the FBI, who I, I am not going to go and defend them, um, but because I'm not a fan. But if the FBI is like, hey, if they're misusing some term or whatever in order to, like you say, violate people's civil rights, well, that's obviously wrong. But like, there is such a thing as terrorism. Like, I don't want to live in a society that ignores political violence.
But that's not what's happening. So here, let me just read this with you, so you can tell me whether you. Now this is just from AI. Okay, so it's not from any particular. This is from Gemini. So here, I'll share it with you so you can see. So the original directive, which we brought up a couple months ago, fundamentally shifts how the government defines domestic threats. So it instructs intelligence and law enforcement agencies to identify common threads in political violence. And I just want you to like think for a minute how this could be used against the right the next time you get a lefty president. I mean, it is, if you think about it from that angle, there's no way you can read this and not be disturbed. It lists these threads. So the threads that indicate your proclivity towards political violence are anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, as well as opposition to traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. And let's say I agree with all that. Let's pretend, right? Hey, yeah, I agree. If you oppose these things, you might way more likely to be an undesirable, but a terrorist, right? And so the memorandum directs the FBI and the JTTF to investigate networks and individuals who hold these views if they are suspected of fomenting political violence.
And that's a very important if.
Okay, right? That was in September, and that was the same logic that you used. Well, I mean, if they are fomenting political violence, they should be. Okay, fine. So nothing to see here, right? So now, last week,
and this is the part where I'm stuck in the middle of finals, so I'm not
right.
This one.
Okay. So I said this is exactly what was going to happen. I'm like, just give it a couple months.
Okay.
So Pam Bondi issued a new internal memorandum directing federal agencies to fully operationalize that memo, redefining domestic terrorism to specifically include extreme viewpoints on immigration, racial, gender ideology, and anti-American sentiment.
Okay. Looks like I'm going to have to go pull up the actual book.
While there may not be a public master list of names posted online, the directive orders the agency to submit lists of groups meeting these criteria to the White House so they can be designated as domestic terrorist organizations.
All right. So
it's not that, here these people are fomenting political violence and look at what they all have in common. It's no. Let's find people who have these views and then designate them potentially.
Okay. Great. That's cool. I am now looking up the actual order, and so far, I am not seeing.
You gotta look up this order.
What's the name of it? Yeah, December 4. I was looking at December 7. So my list
should have just waited 3 days, and then it could have been another day that lives in infamy. Easier to remember for the kids.
December 7th. A day that will live in infamy. That's like the actor's job of a lifetime. I'm trying to find a copy of the memo. Oh, wait, is this it? Oh, come on. This is memo which was obtained. Okay. Ken Klippenstein. Okay, there's this NSP in NSPM 7. Memo like this one. Memo like what one? No one is showing the memo. I kind of feel like if this was a real thing, we would have the text of the memo.
Okay,
I'm having a hard time.
But let's pretend just for the sake of let's pretend just for this. Hold on, just pretend, because I'm going to have to go here in a second. But can you pretend for the sake of this conversation that it's not being misreported? It's just that's what it is.
Okay.
Would you find that concerning?
If they switched the if to a then. So basically, instead of saying there are groups that espouse this, and if they are threatening or fomenting political violence, then blah blah blah. There are groups that do this, Therefore, they are fomenting political violence and need to be targeted.
No, Russ. So look, it's not a.
Then
It's not
I
a
would agree that is terrible.
It's not a philosophical statement. If the practice is to harvest a group of, like, again, put it in the alternate universe. Let's say, let's say that you get a liberal president who sees Christianity, let's say, as, hey, these moralistic people are trying to discriminate and have bigotry against people of different sexual orientations or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm directing the DOJ to make a list of all churches who espouse a fundamentalist, have a fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible, so that they can be designated potentially as, we're going to go through and investigate each one to see which ones we want to designate as political terrorists. Of course, you'd have a problem with that. So it's like, I don't understand why the reverse is not on its face.
I'm telling you, man. So the original memo had an if clause in it. Okay. And I said, look, the if clause says that this only counts if they are already fomenting political violence. And then you said, I agree, but that's not the way it's going to be used. That if is going to turn into a therefore, or
it's just once this directive is out there, now we have this thing that says there's a proclivity, right? So if you have these views, you have a proclivity towards fomenting political violence. Therefore, I mean, hey, look, if I knew that there was a population of people out there that had strep throat, right? I probably would not want to go around those people, right? And it's just that's literally, that's what they're saying. They're saying, hey, if you hold these views, then you are likely to foment political violence, and therefore we're going to make a list and put you on a watch list and potentially designate you as terrorist. How is that not objectionable? It's the essence of thought police.
Yes. So if that is the current interpretation, if that's how it's being implemented, then of course it's objectionable.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Okay. The text of the NSPM 7 doesn't support that, as far as I could read, because there is a conditional there, and the conditional is it's grammatically after, but it's functionally before. So if you think about it as like, if this is the case and this, then this. And if they just switched it to, if they removed that if and treated it as like a conclusion instead of a condition, which you said they're likely to do. So like, if that's really what's happened, then you were right for sure. But that's not what the original text says. And so I've got the memo.
I was going to say, I found it.
I've got the memo. It's 7 pages long.
Yeah, go read it, and then we can talk about it later.
Yeah, I'll have to look, and then we'll see. The thing is that this is one of those juicy things where it's like, it's really easy for these to turn into like very, very heated tweets, and so like, I mean, the list of crimes that they're looking at here: assaulting, resisting, or impeding federal officers, publicly disclosing the personal information of a federal agent, is doxing people. It's illegal.
But is it terrorism? So doxing is now counted as terrorism.
So it's what makes it terrorism, and this actually.
Look right here. Look right here. Particularly dangerous are acts committed by violent extremist groups that threaten both citizen safety and ability to self-govern. These domestic terrorists use violence, including opposition to law and immigration enforcement. So if you have a protest, you're now a domestic terrorist.
No.
If you have tweets out there that are like, hey, ICE is out of control, blah blah blah, extreme views in favor of mass migration, dude. I think people that have extreme views on mass migration are just dead wrong. They're stupid. The idea is stupid. It's ridiculous. We can debate it, whatever. But they're not terrorists. They just have a flawed policy view. So, this is where I'm like, I'm gonna
pull the grammar card, and again, look at the sentence as it is. Okay. Just wait. You're pulling out of the middle. Look at the first sentence. Particularly dangerous are those acts committed by violent extremist groups. So violent extremist groups that threaten both citizens' safety and our country's ability to self-govern.
Right.
These domestic terrorists use
Okay.
violence
But
or the threat of
they're
violence.
but
Wait,
Russ, that you just read a minute ago, they're counting doxing as a violent act.
It is. It's
It's
against
okay.
the law.
I agree. It's against the law and it should be prosecuted. But it's not a violent act. It's speech.
Well, so yes. So in the same way that if I was saying, hey, look, it's open season on federal employees, and I know where some of them are. In fact, they're right here, and I show you on the map. And it's like it'd be a shame if one of my many thousands of followers would go do something about them, and then that person then starts to get massive amounts of death threats. People are like throwing stuff at their house all the time. They got to move the kids
Okay, now
somewhere
look here.
because they're worried that they're going
Look
to
here.
get
So
assaulted.
these are the offenses they want to prosecute, which I don't have any problem with any of this. These are all things that, like you said, they're against the law, right? Okay.
They're against law.
No problem.
Can I say
Yeah.
can I say something here? All right. So in that sentence where he's defining it, there at the end of section 1, she says these domestic terrorists use violence or the threat of violence to advance political and social agendas, and then including does not modify violence. The including modifies. Look at it. The including modifies
I love how your defense of this is
social.
to diagram a sentence. Well, no, it actually modifies the other words.
No,
So
but that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like, look. That's the thing. It's in
yeah, it is in
English.
English.
Okay, English
Yep,
has
that's true.
structure. So just say, oh my gosh, you're relying on grammar
Russ,
to tell what the
look,
sentence
man,
means.
look,
We
man,
do it
look.
all the time.
It's just like this thing that they're getting in trouble with the courts right here, right? Where the judge held them in contempt of court and stuff because they blatantly, flagrantly like said, screw you, we're not doing that. When they were like, hey, bring those planes back, don't send anybody else out. And instead, they're like, well, that was a verbal directive, not a written directive. And so they hustled all the planes out before the 5 p.m. Written order came out. And then they're claiming that they
Yeah.
followed the instructions, even though he had told them don't do. It's like, yeah, but it wasn't on legal 8.5 by 11 with the 1.5. Your margins were off, and so it's ridiculous, dude. It's like okay, so can they make an argument that hey, no, we're all legal, we're obeying all the court. Okay, yes, they can, and they are making that argument, but you and I could both look at it and see, dude, they're flagrantly like not obeying the court instructions.
I'm not talking about rules
That's
lawyering this. I'm just saying if you look at the English sentence and you just pause for a minute, the number of people screaming like, "Oh my gosh, he's coming for us! It's the Handmaid's
okay,
Tale or
but
whatever,"
you're
and
not
just say,
you're
"Look at the
literally
sentence.
if I
Look
may,
at it."
dude, and I'm not trying to again, I'm not trying to fight. I just if you don't think there's anything to see here, that's fine. I'm just pointing out the things that I see that are objectionable. And if you're like, hey, dude, the way that sentence structured, I don't find that as objectionable, but because this modifies that clause, not this one, and I can see how you might read it that way. But it's just it's a if you're
You
strickler for
have
grammar, you'll understand that actually modifies the other thing. It's the way that it's used in the field that's the problem, right? And so right here, we have legal memos from Albert Gonzalez during the Bush years that say it's totally fine to torture people. So it's totally fine, right? And so that's not only a violation of international law and all this, but hey, we have the legal opinion here, and so it's totally legal. It's like okay, so
can you
just
you've
read the sentence
studied
right here. Okay, so
you've
pursuant
studied
to this, in the course of and as a result of the investigations, blah blah blah, shall compile a list of groups or entities engaged in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism and provide that list to the Deputy Attorney General.
Yep.
Okay. And so, yeah, so if you're like,
what's that
if it was, hold on, if it was, hey, find groups that are engaging in these things and say, and let's see which one of those people maybe, have a larger domestic terrorism plot. I got zero issue with that, but that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're
No.
going and saying, and getting
Yeah.
these people,
Let me
these people.
Yeah, let me help you. Let me go ahead and help you
Okay.
with
Oh,
this.
you can help me
So
with it.
if you
Okay.
take a
All
look,
right.
yeah, well, so you're talking about section 5. Let's look at section 5. Pursuant blah 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 in coordination with the joint task force, et cetera, consistent with applicable law, compile a list of groups or entities engaged in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism as defined by 18 USC 2331 section 5. So That is published. Here's 18 U.S. Code.
Got it. So just disregard the whole section about
Section 5.
the anti-Americanism and
No, well,
radical gender ideology. Just disregard all that.
I would like to read to you the law that is listed for the defining what domestic terrorism is. And that's the one that she just referenced. And here it is. Term domestic terrorism means activities that A, involve acts dangerous to human life that are violations of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state. So there's two conditions. One, it's got to be a criminal act. B, appears to be intended to either intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or 3, to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping, and then also has to have the feature that it occurs primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. Okay, so there's domestic terrorism. So she's saying, and I'm just look at the memo.
Read this part.
Make a list of groups that are doing the stuff defined in that law.
Yeah, so not this paragraph here. This paragraph, just disregard.
Which
this paragraph right here, where it says.
Yes, the one that has
right here, the one that talks about that if you have radical gender ideology, anti-Americanism, however you define that, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the government. I get that part, but although
do you think
support for the overthrow of the United States government, that could adversely apply to a lot of people on the right. So, but hostility towards traditional view on family, religion, and morality, whatever that means.
By the way, if you look, it says these domestic terrorists use violence or the threat of violence to advance political and social agendas, and then we have a list here of what some of those agendas might be, which you keep referencing. Now, if there was an organization that opposed these things, they opposed law and immigration enforcement, they were adherents of radical gender ideology and so on, that would not make them in violation of the domestic terrorist statute, but it would if they were using violence within things that were already illegal, and that were designed to intimidate or coerce the public.
Why do you think they felt compelled to only include the violence from left-wing groups here? And why do you think they felt like they wanted to prioritize, hey, all these pet?
That's a great question.
Sure.
Would you like me to answer that for you? Because they're convinced that there is right now an epidemic of specifically left-wing violence, and that the left-wing violence is, now we can disagree about whether it's an epidemic or not, but that the left-wing violence is intended to coerce or intimidate the public, or to coerce or intimidate the government into making particular political decisions. So one example of this would be the attack. Would be the attack on the congressional baseball.
Can I press pause here for a second? Okay, so you don't need to provide a bunch of examples.
There are a lot.
So when a left-wing president gets in and uses this exact same memo because they're convinced that so many groups on the right are perpetuating perpetual violence, and they have their own examples, which they will, you won't find that objectionable at all then.
If there are groups that are engaged in violent acts in order to try to intimidate or coerce the public,
as defined by doxing and aggressive tweets and whatever else, this is what's in there.
So
espousing anti-American views, defined by whoever.
That's not against the law. There's a list. Dude,
I agree, it's not against the law, but in the memo it says that if you're espousing these things, that you have a proclivity towards this, and we're making a list of you. You don't have an issue with any of that.
So, Eric, I think what's happening is those are.
It's a sincere question. I'm not trying to get you.
I know, yeah. And those are not in the document.
Yes, I just read them to you.
Because, as I've explained before, those are
mansplaining to me.
No, you're the one that has taken a lot of classes in interpreting ancient and abstruse documents.
Obtuse documents, yeah.
You
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, the tense of this verb actually matters as far as what's joined with it and so on. So, I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to say, say, look, the grammar doesn't support the interpretation you're giving it. What supports the interpretation you're giving it is like the people yelling on social media or on MSNBC or whatever. They're like, look at this. Oh my God. And everyone's like freaking out. And so then it's like people look at that. They say, oh, the list, it's right here. Look, that list they told me about, it's right here. And you're like, yes. And if you look at what the list is doing in the sentence, it's not saying these are all terrorists. It's saying there are terrorists out there. There are people that are violating.
Who have these views. That's fantastic. There are also violent people who have right wing views. She didn't list any of those.
Yes, and here's the thing: is that those, if that's the case, like if there are people out there right now, listen, I'm agreeing.
Okay.
If there are people out there that are right now, or in the next administration or whatever, that are like, hey, pick whatever right wing thing is out there, like the IRS. We know where their agents are, and here they are. It's like taxation is theft, and if someone should do something about these people, here's a list. Someone should make a complaint to CPS about this person has 3 kids and they're young, and you know what those people are like in the IRS. Someone should do something about this, whatever. And then there's like now this mass coordinated effort.
So that tweet you just said, let's say somebody wrote that. You're saying that constitutes terrorism?
What I'm saying is that
according to this document, if it was
publicly disclosing the personal information of a federal agent is a crime. And then if you look at 18 USC 2331 about domestic terrorism, it has to do acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws and that appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a policy of a government. That would be domestic terrorism. In which case, if an organization was doing that for right-wing purposes, I would expect the DOJ to keep a close eye on what they're doing and hopefully at some point prosecute them. Right? I mean, do you want that to go on? Regardless of what side?
What I don't want is thought police, which is basically what this document is.
You want what?
What I don't want is thought police. And that's I mean, what you can sigh all you want, but I mean, that's what
not in there
right now in
it's like
England.
The Bible says,
how many people?
The Bible says, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die." It's like it says those words, and they're in a clause.
How many people?
No God. Yes, the fool has said there's no God.
Okay. How many people have been in prison in Great Britain right now because of having, opinions or tweets, right? That are, you just saw how the last like 15, 20 years, basically, we've had this thing where speech is now violence.
Yep.
Your speech is violence upon me. Your values are violence to me, which we've been saying for years. I still think that's ridiculous, right?
Yep.
And yet here we have a document that says, okay, if you hold these views, that is violence. You put it out there, and we gotta watch you. We gotta make a list, and we gotta,
if only it said that, I would be as outraged with you. If I looked, I'm going to read this real carefully tonight, and I hope it's in there because I like agreeing with you.
I like agreeing with you too, buddy.
It bothers me. It bothers me when we can agree. So
it's okay. We'll see. We'll see different things happen in the news, and maybe we'll agree about those events. It'll be all right.
I want to see if I can find this. I'll tell you. I see. There's like 3 different things, right? There's like the wording of what's legal and not legal. There's the actual memo.
Listen, for the podcast, I have to go. I got to go pick up my daughter. But I would love to finish this. I just have to call you on the phone.
Right.
So for those of you guys watching, sorry you can't hear the end of the conversation. We'll catch you next time.
We love each other.
We love each other. And all good.